Hello and welcome back to BEBB and welcome to another Let's Get Deeper episode. So you might have heard of driving whilst black, but have you ever heard of traveling whilst black?
There's London everything and I'm like, I'm from London, and they go, oh, so like London, America or what?
Hey, how you doing? If you're watching, how you doing?
But then I started to realize I was one of the pioneers, if not the pioneer, for my friends or for people that I was meeting. And it gets even better.
Oh, so. Wow, okay, I need some time because I'm already tired.
And had this one old Latvian guy walking towards me and he was shouting and I just kept thinking, oh my God, here we go, here we go.
Yeah.
And he just comes up to me and he's like, you're a really beautiful woman. And I go, oh, okay. And so the moral of this story, I'll just say from now, is always say yes to every single opportunity that comes your way when you travel.
Hello and welcome back to BEBB and welcome to another Let's Get Deeper episode. So you might have heard of driving whilst black, but have you ever heard of traveling whilst black? Is it even something that you think about? Well, for many black people or people of color, it's something that you actively have to think about when you're traveling. The next guest that we have today is an incredible woman. I know I said that about most guests, but trust me, she is another one. She created a digital platform that provides tips, guides, and events specifically for travelers of the African diaspora even. The one, the only, Vivienne Dovi. How are you?
I'm great, how are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Finally, I feel like we've been trying to get this together for a little while, a hot second, but we're finally here, we're together, exactly. And I'm so happy to have you. Okay, so I kind of gave people a bit of an explanation about what you do, about the platform that you started, but please tell us. So tell us a little bit about Vivian and then tell us a little bit about your platform.
Gosh, okay, where to start? So in terms of me, so I'm a young 20-something who's
I love how you do.
Yeah,
no, you're not giving your age? Okay, no worries.
So I'm a young 20-something.
Yes.
I've been traveling since I was about, I can't even remember if I'm honest. My mum's also a traveler, so we often fight for passport stamps.
Oh, wow.
It's very natural in our family.
Okay.
And so I've been traveling for that long. I've only been out of university for a few years. I've worked in the sustainability industry, currently working in a fashion/beauty industry, and then now I'm going into the media industry in a few months, and I've just been trying to travel whilst doing all of that.
Wow.
In terms of Melanin Travel, so Melanin Travel is a digital platform that aims to inspire the African diaspora to travel the world more, and as you mentioned, it's through tips and guides and events, and it's really just to try and shine a light on the fact that black people do travel, but also through the representation of showing that black people travel, it will hopefully inspire others to then start traveling too. Right.
So let's start by talking about you yourself, okay? Let's talk about your experience as a black woman traveling across the world. In fact, tell us some of the places. Where are some of the places that you've been to across the world? Where have you been?
So I think at this point it's 31. I'm not too sure.
31 different countries.
Yeah, I just came back from Latvia, which most people think why, but it was really cool.
Okay.
But we'll get to it. Where else have I been? Before that, I went to Southern Africa. So I went to South Africa, Swaziland. I just say Eswatini because they changed their name recently.
Okay, right.
And Mozambique. Did that solo, which was quite cool. Been to Asia, been to North America, been to other places in Europe.
Oh my gosh.
Kind of all over.
Yeah. Your literal travel goals. Not South America?
Not yet, but it's coming.
No, it's coming. Okay.
It's coming.
Can I come? Can I just jump with you?
Do.
I know you said some of them were solo, but I'm really trying to explore the world as well.
I'm always like, listen, if you want to jump on a trip, just jump on it. I just won't try and book with you because honestly, traveling with your friends sometimes is not always the easiest and most straightforward thing. So I kind of just book my itinerary and say, hey, are you coming? You can meet me at X, Y, and Z.
Wow. So you do none of this group booking thing. You're like, no, I'm going to be there. I don't know about you. If you turn up, you turn up. If you don't, I'm going.
I've had too many experiences. Even the reason why I started solo traveling in the first place was because I got flaked on and I'd already booked my ticket and I thought, so what are we going to do here? But I just went anyway, ended up being one of the best experiences ever. The second time I went abroad, same thing happened again. They flaked me.
Oh gosh.
So I wasn't going to go, but I thought if I don't go, I'll just be the only one who's angry. So I went anyway and so now I just don't wait. I just go.
You just go. You just get up, pack your stuff and you get traveling. And how has that been for you? Obviously, like I said before, driving whilst black is a thing, and whether or not people want to acknowledge it, it is a thing.
Yeah.
Traveling whilst black is a thing as well. I have my own personal experiences as well. So how has it been going to all of these different countries with different cultures, different types of people as a black woman?
Yeah, it's definitely been liberating. I think that's the most thing that I've experienced. Towards the beginning, it was definitely intimidating and daunting.
Right.
The one experience that actually sticks out for me, which is when I then decided, okay, maybe something needs to be created, was when I was in Macau, and I was checking into a hotel, and I gave them my passport, and they all walked away and just stood in a corner, just huddled, staring at my passport and looking at me and staring again, but not, talking again, but not in English. So I'm just standing there. As in actively,
not even subtle, not even...
No. Literally, they were there and just looking at me, looking down, looking at me, and I'm like, my passport's real, what's the issue? So they come back and I say to them, what's the issue? And then they're like, excuse me, where are you from? And it's a British passport, says London, everything. And I'm like, I'm from London. And they go, oh, so like London, America or what? And they went, no, England. But they refuse to believe it, because to most people abroad, black British people don't travel. They don't even know that there's black British people. And this is even sometimes a thing in America. So you're kind of always assumed to be American. And if you don't have that passport, that can even be another issue in itself.
Oh my gosh.
But apart from those issues there that happened kind of earlier on, honestly, it has been very liberating. It really has taught me a lot about myself. I love meeting people from different cultures and making new friends and kind of saying yes to every opportunity and going with the flow. And honestly, I've had some of the most craziest but joyous experiences from just traveling.
Okay, you need to, you know, when you say craziest experience, you know you have to tell us at least one, one. So if you can give us more, that'd be good.
Like a good crazy?
Like a good...
I have a good crazy straight off the top of my head.
Okay, can we do a good crazy and a bad crazy?
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with the good crazy first.
Okay, so with the good crazy, so I was in New York.
Oh gosh.
No, it was actually really, really good. And so the moral of this story, I'll just say from now, is always say yes to every single opportunity that comes your way when you travel.
Oh gosh, okay.
So I went to the Wendy Williams show in the morning, actually.
No.
It was...
I love Wendy. Okay, how you doing? If you're watching, how you doing? Oh my God, I literally was watching Wendy this morning. I watch her every single day, like literally every day.
She's pretty cool. But
I love Wendy. Okay.
So first of all, I was
already. You don't even need to say anything.
It gets better. It gets better.
Oh my gosh.
But
okay.
I wasn't actually meant to see her that day. I was meant to see her the day before.
Okay.
But I got there like 2 minutes late and they wouldn't let me in. You should. Another moral of the story: you should always utilize the fact that you're British when you're abroad, because people love it.
Right.
So I literally emailed the team and said, "Hey, I'm British. I won't be here soon. Can I still come?" They went, "Yeah, come tomorrow." So I go, "Cool."
Yeah.
So I go to the show. It was so dope. Honestly, if you go to New York, you have to go. So
Wendy, please invite me. Please, I'll come. I'd love to. Oh my gosh.
And so after that, I was sitting in a Dunkin' Donuts, and I literally had no idea what to do. And so I do advocate using Tinder when you're abroad, not even for dating, but just for meeting new people. Trust me, it really works.
Tinder.
So I met this random New Yorker who took me to the Museum of Modern Art.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I'm not a huge fan of art, but it was still cool to see because I'd never been. And then I told him I wanted some really great pictures from Central Park. Took me to this new part of Central Park because I'd been there one time before, and we got one of the best pictures I ever had when I was in America, like the whole of America, not just New York. So that was that. He was really cool. And then I went to the Jimmy Fallon show.
Wait, what? Did not. How?
It's better.
Wait, did you have prior tickets, or did you just kind of end up on there?
You have to sign up online.
Okay, cool. Okay, right.
So I got there, but then again, you have to utilize the fact that you're British.
Amazing.
So when they asked in the audience if anybody was from, like, not from New York, I said, yeah, I'm from London, I'm by myself. And I remember everybody was cheering, and I thought, this is weird, but okay. And so Jimmy Fallon came out, and it was great. And then he came out during the break, and then I thought, you know what, I really want a selfie with him, but I'm kind of scared to ask, but I thought, let me do it anyway. So I asked him, and then he was like, oh, well, if I give you one, I have to give everybody one, so I'm sorry. And I thought, okay, that was kind of sad, and I felt kind of upset. But then at the end of the show, he runs through the crowd and I'm on the edge. So he was trying to high five everyone. So I kind of just did this. I wasn't even looking.
Yeah.
And then he just stops and just hugs me on TV. And I was like, what? And then he shouts in my ear, oh, this is better than the selfie, isn't it? And I was kind of just like cheesing, watching myself on the TV screen, thinking, what's going on?
Being hugged by Jimmy Fallon.
But then it gets even better.
Oh, so. Wow. Okay. I need some time because I'm already tired. What? So how can I get in? Okay, right.
Okay. So the guy I was telling you about that I met on Tinder.
Okay.
So because we met in the middle of the day, it was meant to just be a normal catch-up, meet-up, whatever. And so because we got along so well, we thought, hey, let's go for drinks afterwards. And me still thinking this is all platonic. I'm like, yep, that is fine. So I leave the studio and I'm waiting outside and he wasn't there yet. So I was literally just standing there trying to message him saying, hey, where are you? I'm finished now. And then he was like, well, do you want to just get a drink and go back to mine instead? And I'm like, no, this wasn't discussed. This
wasn't part of the plan.
So then he kind of like doesn't respond. I'm just standing there, message him 20 minutes later, doesn't respond. And then I realized he blocked me. And I was like, wow, okay, fine. But at that moment, as I lock my phone and pull it in my pocket and I'm trying to leave. So just for a bit of context, right across the street from me, there was a long line, but I had no idea what it was for.
Right.
I just thought, okay, whatever. And so as I lock my phone and put it in my pocket, a woman comes up to me out of nowhere. She's like, hey, do you like Adele? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, do you want to go and see her? And I'm like, what? And she's like, here you go. And just gives me a ticket. She's like, I have one spare ticket. You can go and see Adele. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. So I'm questioning her on the street.
Okay.
And she's like, you see that long line? This is for Adele. Go and see her. And I went, no, this is a lie. And I'm literally screaming at her in the street, like, you're lying to me. Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And she's like, seriously, just go and try out the ticket. And it was so funny because I was Snapchatting to my friends at the time about the Jimmy Fallon experience. And literally 2 minutes later, I'm like, guys, I just got a ticket to see Adele. And I go in, it checks out, it works. I end up meeting her back inside. Turns out she works for Columbia. And she got spare tickets. She gave them all to her friends and one of them couldn't come. And she saw me standing by myself. So she thought, I'll try her first.
Wow.
And so yeah, that's one of my great experiences. There are so many others, but...
Oh my goodness. Oh, that sounds amazing.
It was. And Adele was great. And it was very close.
Really? So it wasn't even like one of those rubbish tickets where you're like standing right at the back. It was a really good ticket.
Right after she came off her hiatus. So those tickets were going for like $800. Yeah, I found out afterwards. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, Lord. So, she gave you away an $800 ticket.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were definitely blessed that day. Like you were literally like God was just like, yes, you're the one. Back to back. That's crazy. That's Wendy, Jimmy Fallon. Okay, literally. I can imagine. Okay, we've had the good experience, which I think is amazing, and I can only hope that replicates for me. So I'll let you know when I go onto my trip around the US and that happens to me. But what would you then say is one of your not so good experiences? Yeah, the not so great. I feel like we should have done it in reverse order now.
No, I know.
But you know,
no, it's fine. I still try to keep very happy and optimistic, which is why it's even harder for me to think of the negative experiences versus the positive. But it actually just came to mind is when I went to New Delhi in India.
Okay, right.
I had a friend who was born and raised there, but actually came to study here. So we met while I was studying. And so I went to go and stay with him. Actually started out quite positively because I had nowhere to stay. So he had a friend who was an MP, stayed in the MP's house for free.
Amazing.
That's another story.
Okay.
But what I really hated about that trip was, so I had really big like crochet braids, curly hair. And I literally became the tourist attraction at every attraction. But it was very different because they weren't as, or I shouldn't say they, but the people that I saw there, they were very different from some of the other crowds that I'd come across at that time. So instead of just the stares, it was like pointing in my face type of stares, or literally putting the phone this close to me type of thing. And they didn't really respect my privacy. And I actually got groped by security women. And at that point, I just lost it because I was so angry. I got treated as a terrorist in the airport. They check all of your suitcases when you go in.
Right.
And I got there 7 hours before my flight. And so they checked my suitcase. It was all fine. I went to go and sit down, had a little nap, started walking towards the check-in line, and they start charging at me. And they're like, you need to come with us. We need to check your stuff. And I'm like, but I checked it 6 hours ago. And everyone's staring at this point.
Of course, yeah.
What's going on? What is she carrying? And so we walk towards the check-in, and then they say, but we checked her. And then they go, oh, okay, you can go. And I was like, but the way you just treated me, but no one cared. That's the thing. To them, it was just, this is another thing. Another one based on that is, so the friend I was staying with, he was all great while he was here. But then when we went to Agra, which is where the Taj Mahal is. And we stayed in the Radisson Blu. And it's not necessarily shade on him. It was more shade on the way that people treated us because they thought we were married. I guess. I don't know. Yeah. So,
what was he? What race was he?
So
if you don't mind me asking.
He's born and raised there.
Okay, right.
But he's slightly older, so I guess they just saw us two.
They just assumed, yeah,
they're together. And so I let him check in for us, and I asked him, "Could you please make sure that we have separate beds?" And he said, yeah, I'll make sure. But he forgot. Anyway, that's another story. So
he just accidentally forgot that you guys were supposed to have separate beds. But okay,
So the manager comes to take us upstairs. And so I'm asking the manager all these questions like I typically do when I go into a hotel. And I said,
you should, yeah.
Will you make sure that the beds are separate? And he said, I'm not too sure what you have in your room, but I'll see and I'll find out. And if not, then I'll find something else. And so he's taking us around the hotel. And I keep saying to him, so when we get there, you'll check the beds, right? And he's like, yeah. And I
is this your friend or the manager? Okay.
The manager. And I kept asking. I think I asked about 5 times to make sure like this was a pressing issue. It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind. At the same time, I just want my space.
Of course.
So we finally get to the room and it's like a queen size bed. And so I walk in first. I'm literally just standing there like trying not to get involved because I understand that for a woman to be so in your face, it's a little bit it's not as desired.
Not as her, yeah,
exactly when they think that
her.
you're married. So I just literally stood there like this, but walking into the room. And I heard the man say to my friend, but in Hindi, do you want me to change the bed? And my friend said nay, which means no. Literally, that man never came back, like ever. He just disregarded everything I said at that point. And I was just so angry because at that point, I saw how deep it was to travel and literally no one caring about what you're saying.
But do you feel like that was more so because of the fact that you were a woman or because you were a black woman?
Definitely black women.
Really?
And I just say that because it was like a myriad of things that happened throughout that trip. I mean, another brief situation happened where I went to go and buy a sari and you have to wear the crop top things underneath it. I didn't have a crop top or anything. And so I tried to buy one and it was quite rigid, the ones that they had, so it didn't stretch. Now, I knew I couldn't fit in what they had for me. And so the man then got a measuring tape and he came to measure me, but the measuring tape kind of fell. So I knew that the number that he came out with just wasn't correct. But he actually came out with a number smaller than what my bust size was. So I was like, no, I'm like 4 inches above that. And he refused to listen to me. And literally and then my friend went, oh, well, he's an expert, so just listen to him. And I turned around and went, oh, I'm sorry, do you buy my bras?
I know my body, like I know, okay, because I live with this every day, but anyway.
And so I was like, do you know my bra size? No, I was like, do you shop for my bras? And like every man in the store turned around and looked at me in utter shock. And I was kind of like, I wasn't expecting this reaction. And from that moment, the shopkeeper refused to talk to me. So if you were me and my friend is here, he was looking straight at my friend and never looked at me once for 10 minutes. And the moment my friend went, okay, just give her one size up, the man went like instantly to go and get the new one. And I just remember being so angry as I left because my friend also couldn't understand why I was so upset with everything that was happening. So it definitely was more of a black woman issue.
I think it's that misogynoir. It's the both. It's the two. The fact that you are a woman, so that's they're already seen as like women shouldn't, probably. And again, not referencing as they, but people from a particular culture, from different cultures, there's still a long way to go for different cultures. And some people do perceive, women as like, wait, she's speaking up, she's speaking out. How is that possible? And then the added fact that you're a black woman with big curly hair. And I did want to actually talk about that because clearly now you have your natural hair out, which is gorgeous and fabulous. Do you travel with your natural hair out as well?
So the first time I actually traveled with my natural hair out was to Latvia. So before that, even in South Africa and all those things, all those other countries, I just traveled with extensions because it was easier. And I mean, I used to have a wig business back in the day, so traveling with wigs was just what I was used to. But I won't lie, it definitely was a thing. I mean, I actually ran an Instagram poll right before Latvia saying, I have to think about my hair before I travel to these countries. Do you think I should go to Latvia with my afro? And most people said I think you should, just because they wanted me to kind of like, you know, be the pioneer.
To be the pioneer and be at the forefront. But it's crazy though that we, like, you know, as black women, like, yeah, I'm wearing a wig right now, but underneath my wig, my hair grows like yourself. And I've been on a natural hair journey myself as well. I'm not going to say I'm like, all of a sudden I'm very woke and all of this stuff. I definitely don't fit into the framework of whatever it is people consider for you to be woke, that you have to have natural hair, whatever it is. But that's a conversation for another day. But I would definitely say that, you know, it is something you have to think about. Even if from the time your workplace, I don't know if you've ever experienced it yourself, but people have these conversations all the time that they have to think about it in the workplace. Just imagine now going to whole different countries and cultures where interaction, they don't even speak your language.
Exactly.
So that must be, but what made you in the end decide that, you know what, I'm going to go with my natural hair and I'm going to just go and do it, and it is what it is?
I wish I had some kind of thought out answer, but honestly, I was lazy.
Oh, okay.
That's how it was.
That's good enough. Yeah.
For Latvia, I mean, I was already going to work with my natural hair. Again, because I've been so confident in wearing wigs and everything.
Yeah.
All my workplaces always know I can switch up very quickly.
Any moment.
I just thought,
you come today as Vivian, tomorrow you're Charmaine, tomorrow you're Sade, tomorrow you're Lola, everything.
Exactly. You just never know what tomorrow will bring.
Yeah.
But honestly, I just couldn't be bothered to cornrow my hair, and then that's when I asked, because I was staying with friends in Latvia, but at the same time, as much as I love my friends so dearly, and they've never showed any signs of racial discrimination, and that's why I was so comfortable to go. At the same time, I didn't know how I was going to be received on the other side.
Right. So how was that?
It was amazing.
Okay, good.
Honestly, I fell in love with Latvia, and people still think how, but I didn't experience any racism when I was there. I even had this one old Latvian guy walking towards me, and he was shouting, and I just kept thinking, oh my God, here we go, here we go.
Yeah.
And he just comes up to me and he's like, you're a really beautiful woman. And I go, oh, okay. And then he just walks away.
Right.
And I mean, I did have one slight experience where somebody started screaming Miss Africa at me, and they wouldn't leave my, like, they wouldn't get out of my walking distance. So I had to push him.
Okay.
But I feel like not everybody would do that, but I think at this point I've just traveled enough to, I don't know, I'm just kind of confident with it, and I think sometimes it shows, and then that's why I don't get into as many mishaps now as I might have done in the past.
Yeah, so you can definitely understand, and I can tell where kind of like your passion for creating this platform started with. And like you said, you've been traveling for years, so you've got over 20 years of experience of, you know, traveling to different places. You're very passionate about diversity as well, and you've reflected that in the way that you yourself live, and you do your own thing in different countries. So walk us through the kind of process to starting up your actual platform, because we've heard your experiences now. I want to know how it actually came to a point where you were like, okay, I'm going to start this platform, and what do you actually offer for people?
Okay, so the experience has actually led to creating it. So essentially in 2015, I decided to go to Southeast Asia, well, East Asia and Southeast Asia for 6 weeks, and I backpacked most of it by myself.
Wow.
And before Macau, which was part of this trip, I had situations because I had really long braids, like down here.
Okay.
So people would be touching my braids in the middle of the street. People would just... I was not used to that by myself, and I didn't know how to handle it, and I could just see all the phones pointing my way when I walk and stuff, and so I started to feel really self-conscious, and I started questioning everything. And then I got to Macau, and the passport thing happened, and I remember calling one of my friends and just saying, I really want to go home. And she was like, you've got 3 weeks left, just continue. So I go, fine. And so I wrote a really long Facebook post.
Okay, as you do, yeah.
Because that's all I really knew how to do at the time. And so at that point, people started to say, oh, I didn't know you would be experiencing that, being a black woman in these places.
Right.
But at the same time, once I got back, a lot of my friends were like, oh, well, I mean, if you went, I can go, right? And I went, yeah. You shouldn't have had to wait for me to do that. But then I started to realize I was one of the pioneers, if not the pioneer, for my friends or for people that I was meeting.
Right.
So then at that point, I realized, okay, maybe people need to learn from some of the things I'm saying, because I don't want it to be a thing where they think I'm the only pioneer. There are way more Black people out there traveling, way more accomplished than I am, and they should be showing their stories as well. So at first people wanted me to just start my own personal blog, but I just didn't want to. So then I thought, okay, I want to also learn from other people, so why not create a community instead? So that's how it was born. It was born on Instagram. And then I launched the website last year, so it turned 1 last month.
Oh wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
And so in terms of what we offer, so the main, my main goal for it is to become essentially like a Black Google for when you want to go abroad and you want to find out how it is to travel.
And don't say it like that. You have to say it with your chest. It's going to be a Black Google for travel. That's it. There
I just
we go.
don't want to compare it to Google because
don't worry. No. Yeah, it is its own thing, but don't worry. Google is the big thing, so
it's true.
Even that, you're going to supersede and surpass it, so it's fine.
Amen.
Yeah.
So yes, I wanted to be essentially a directory for when people want to go abroad. They want to see how people like them have traveled, what they have experienced, and it's not about necessarily deterring people. So even with my India trip, I do tell them exactly what happened.
Of course.
But I always say India is still a beautiful place. There's still great food. You might still have a great time. Don't let my one experience deter you when there are so many Black people also going.
Right.
So it's more about the content side of it. And so that is through destination advice. It's through tips. It's through reviews. It's through the Black experience and through food and stuff. So that's that. Also, the Instagram is to share more people's story and to really build up the whole representation point of view, because sometimes it really only takes seeing one Black person in that place you wanted to go.
For you to
and
feel
then
like...
suddenly you're like, oh, okay, I want to go.
Right.
I mean, that happens for me.
Definitely.
I saw somebody going to Colombia, and for a while I always thought, I don't really know about Colombia, and now I'm dying to go. I'll go by myself. I really don't mind, because I've seen so many other people do it. If they came back alive, like, we're all good.
Like, we're fine. I'm good. I'll survive out there.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and then in terms of the events, so that's actually called Shades of Travel. So it's like a little branch.
Nice.
And I co-founded that with another travel writer, and she's amazing. And so that is...
What's her name? Let us know who she is.
Her name is Yolanda.
Yes,
and Instagram is Dip Your Toes In.
Okay, she's even doing Instagram. I was just saying to just say your name, but it's okay. Yes.
Yolanda, I got you.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's to provide information and training and workshops for influencers, content creators, basically professionals within the travel industry. And the inception of that was due to us going to a lot of travel events and kind of only being the only Black people there too. Also, there's all these issues in terms of Black influencers, not just only in the travel sphere, but in all these spheres. And, paid campaigns and not really knowing.
And how all the other YouTubers get to go to the Maldives and do all of these things. And then a lot of the Black or just like what you would consider different Black or plus size, YouTubers or influencers don't often get these chances as well, unless you're really big. Really big.
So our goal is to dive into those issues. So the last event we actually did was about how to get into paid campaigns with PRs.
Amazing.
So we had a panel of PRs who came to explain how it works, the return on investment, how clients want to work with influencers and brands and stuff like that. So those are the main two things, and then there are other things, but it's all in the process. So
it's all there? Okay. So there's so much more coming from you. Oh, I absolutely love that. Do you know what? We're going to make sure we put all the information to everything that you do and your platform, everything, so people will come and find out a bit more about it as well. But what would you then say to people? Because I remember when I first looked up Melanin Travel, that's right, Melanin Travel, my initial thought was, as you do, which we shouldn't do, but I'll be very honest, initial thoughts, you do tend to compare. You compare, like, what can I relate this to? What does this remind me of? And so I was thinking of things like Airbnb, but I was like, it's not quite Airbnb. I was thinking of basically just different brands that work with travelers, etc. But what would you say to people then that might say, well, we have things like Airbnb and we have places where you can travel. Why does Melanin Travel exist? Like, why do we need platforms like Melanin Travel?
Okay. In terms of Airbnb, I mean, even the recent situation with, was it Bob Marley's granddaughter?
Yes. Okay, right. And I
shows,
literally watched that on the news the other day. How could I forget about that? Yeah.
But that in itself already shows that we face a completely different experience to how our white or even other people of color's counterparts may experience. For example, when I was researching India, yes, my main fear was how is it traveling solo as a female, because I wasn't always with my friend. But then if everybody who comes up on the internet is blonde and blue-eyed, I already know we're going to have a different situation.
Totally different experiences.
And my experience will be very different from an African American's experience. It'll be very different from a Black Muslim's experience who has to wear a hijab. And so when you take all these different factors into account, then we need platforms like this in order to show that this is literally what it is. So, for example, whenever somebody writes an article about their experience being Black in somewhere else, I always say your context is so important. If you don't have that, then I don't want the article, because there's no point just saying I'm a Black woman. You could be light-skinned, you could be married and be with someone who's also Black, or be with someone who's not Black. You could be with a local, like all these factors you have to take into account so somebody can read it and go, okay, that context is similar to mine, or they could be like, okay, well, this happened because of your context. So that's really important. Even in terms of the other African-American Black travel groups that are out there, while it's great, sometimes I read them and also think, well, I mean, I don't really connect with it as
I can't relate
because I'm not American, so I don't deal with the daily struggles that you deal with, and you don't deal with the daily struggles that I deal with. So we need to have a different platform which kind of embraces all of them. Not saying that they don't, but it's just sometimes I really don't connect. And I know it's something that a lot of Black British people have said to me in the past, which is why I'm trying really hard to come with the Black British narrative as well, but then also embrace other African and Caribbean narratives. But in terms of things like Airbnb and stuff like that, honestly, we just have different experiences and need to be highlighted at this point.
Definitely, and I feel like they're almost always only highlighted when something negative really happens. But just generally, you know, traveling. Like I said, I have even my own experience. I remember going to Italy with my boyfriend.
Let me guess. Girl. Wait, was it about prostitution?
No, actually, it wasn't about prostitution.
That's shocking, because that's usually the number.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh no.
People, well, not always, but they tend to be. Seen as prostitutes.
So they get approached, I'm assuming, people thinking, oh, I can pay you and
or how much do you charge?
Oh my goodness.
I've heard that many times.
No, I haven't actually. It wasn't that. I think, do you know what? It might be different because I wasn't on my own. I was with my boyfriend, so it might be a bit different. Long story short, literally we go into any store, any shop, anywhere, we were literally, not even subtly, being followed around, and sometimes even, do you know what was even worse? Sometimes even by Black security, because most of the shops, they all had Black security guards. So it was even the Black people that were following us were getting looks, because in the area that we were in, a lot of the Black people that were there were either very, very poor or on the streets, because obviously, you know, Schengen, and I don't know if you know. Okay, you haven't?
Not yet.
Maybe that's somewhere you need to go. I don't suggest Milan was where we went, but maybe other places. Maybe you can go, you'll have your own experience. But long story short, essentially, I fully understand like why, you know, the necessity of having Black women. And like you said, experiences are very different and intersectional. You're a dark-skinned Black woman. My experience and your experience might be two different experiences.
And the same with men as well.
Yeah, 100%. Do you find, in fact, talking of that, do you find that a lot of men approach you about the same thing? Because I don't think men are as vocal about things like that.
Unfortunately, no. And if you're out there and you want to contribute, sorry, I have to say,
no, definitely.
I don't find them as easily as I would like. I think, again, another difference between Black British people versus, let's say, African Americans, or even a thing where it's, if you want to compare it to South Africans as well, we normalize travel from an early age because we go on school trips. You know, Amsterdam, Dubai, all these places, they're normal to us. So because of that, a lot of people, sometimes they don't see the need for it because to them they're already traveling. It's when they branch out of that, that's when they start thinking, okay, now I need to know this information. So as of yet, I haven't met many Black men who have ventured out. And I really hope you're out there.
I'm sure that they're there, but maybe because sometimes with men, I think men deal with things on their own. True. Whereas women, we tend to be more vocal about, you know, if something happened to me, I did a whole video about the experience that I had in Italy, whereas my boyfriend's probably not that interested in going to tell the whole world about what happened. It's just an experience that he kind of has.
Yeah, and also from a lot of black males that I've met, sometimes their experience would be more positive, and then that would be due to things like, oh, you might be a basketball player or a football player.
We got that in Turkey. Everyone was like, oh, you play basketball, you play No.
There you go.
No,
when I was in Japan, there's this town, it's in Tokyo, actually, but there's this city or town, however they call it, but it's called Roppongi, and it's meant to be dirty and dusty, but honestly it was my favorite part because they have so many Africans there, and they have loads of hip-hop clubs, and honestly Japan
Roppongi, in Japan.
Japan is my favorite country, so so we went there, and I remember seeing so many black men in the club, and I was thinking, where did you all come from? I haven't seen you in a minute. And then turns out there was an American naval base, so that's why they were there. However, the attention they got in the club versus the attention I and my other black friends who I had met at the time got in the clubs, it was completely different. And that was because Japanese women saw it, unfortunately, as a thing to be with them, whereas
almost fetishized.
Exactly. Whereas it wasn't the other way around. So they were enjoying themselves in the clubs while we were just kind of in the corner like, this is weird. So things like that. I'm not saying all male experiences
of course not.
I'm sorry, negative or either one, but that's just what I've come across so far. So I guess I haven't tried to push at people for it.
But if there's definitely men out there, listen, be a part of this, because I know that there's plenty of men that travel. They just don't necessarily talk about their experiences as much. But I think you touched on it a little bit earlier on anyway, kind of like the importance of people sharing their narrative and kind of presenting their narrative so that people understand that, we can connect on a different level. But why would you say it's important for black people in general to have their own platforms, kind of like yourself? You saw something, you weren't too happy about it, you decided to start a platform. Why do you think it's important for just black people as a whole to start these initiatives, platforms, things where we can have our own? Why do you think that's important?
Because diversity and representation is really key. If you don't see people like yourself doing it, sometimes it's even hard for you to start. So if you can be that person and that beacon of light for somebody else, I wouldn't really understand why you would keep that information to yourself. And I mean, I could have kept all of this information to myself, and my friend or somebody I've met could go abroad and be completely blindsided. I just wouldn't really want to do that to someone. But if you want to look at it from a selfish point of view, it also teaches you so much about yourself. I mean, travel for me has taught me so much, and I definitely wouldn't be as comfortable and as confident as I am now if I didn't start my solo travel journey from 2015. And even in terms of building the business and having to network and meeting people from all different walks of life, that would never be a thing if I didn't start this thing and really try and push myself to get out of my comfort zone. So from a selfish point of view, just starting your own thing, it will bring so many opportunities to your life that you never thought would happen, and it will just really push you to be the best self that you're meant to be.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Before you leave us, because I know that there are so many different areas that we could go on and we could talk for ages, but I do have to ask you, what piece of advice would you give to anyone that might be watching? There might be some people who are who want to travel, who want to go out there, who are from the African diaspora, who are black. What piece of advice would you give them? One piece of advice that you would give them in terms of just traveling and kind of exploring the way that you have.
Okay, can I cheat and do two though?
Okay, at this point, go do two. Go on, you've got two.
So the first one would be, obviously think about your race, because being black while traveling is an important factor, but don't let it overwhelm you. Second one would always be to say yes within reason. Or sorry, let me rephrase that. Always say yes within reason. Obviously, if your gut feeling is telling you that you shouldn't do something, don't defy that. But if you can't see the negatives in doing something, just do it, because you've got nothing to lose. So, and you only have one life, Exactly, you only live once.
You only live once, so live it to your best. But thank you so much for coming on today, Vivian. Honestly, you've been such a pleasure. You have shared so much knowledge. So everything, will be shared with our viewers so that they can see exactly where to find you, because I do get a lot of questions actually about traveling, because I've done one solo trip to Greece, which was amazing.
I might need to get you to contribute to Melanin Travel.
I might be contributing as well. But no, thank you so very much for your time. You have been absolutely amazing. Keep doing what you're doing and keep going with your platform. I'm so sure it's got so many other things and layers that it needs to touch, so it's absolutely fine. So once again, we've had another incredible guest who's shared all of her knowledge about traveling alone, traveling as a Black individual, which is often something that people don't think about. But do you know what? We've got all the information for you in the description box below. Make sure you check it out, check out her platform, support her, follow her, and let us know as well if you go on any adventures and any journeys, and let us know how it goes. But thank you so much once again for watching, and we'll see you again next time.